Because keeping up to date with the latest security patches or patches at all for all your different types of software is a huge hassle, we want to automate it. Also, if we do automate it, it means we're not going to forget, and it's more likely that those patches are applied, and it's more likely that we're going to be safe from attacks. There is one main application that I recommend for doing this, and that is Security Personal Software Inspector, or PSI, and it's also free. It's maintained by this company, and they are a security company, and therefore it has a strong focus on updates where security matters most. The update data has to be updated to be useful, and it's maintained by Security, and they do quite a good job of doing that. But they don't cover all software, but they do cover all of the software that is important for security. If you just simply go to the website, you're going to have to fill in your details here, download, you will get the executable. If you run this, select your language, next, accept the license. Now you have a choice of how you want this to be set. So you can set it to update programs automatically, which I recommend for you when it's all set up. Definitely set it to that. But for when you first install it, I recommend that you set it to download updates automatically, and then let me choose whether to update. This way you can choose which software you may not want to have updated, because it could be that you have some software that you don't want updated for different reasons. So you don't want it to start automatically updating those applications, because that's exactly what it'll do if you set this. You may even not want it to download anything at all, but just check to see whether or not your software is up to date just for the install. In fact, I'll check it to this just for the install. And then do we want to launch it? Yes, we do. When you first start the program, it scans for software looking for what is installed. This can take some time, especially if you've got a lot of applications, you've got a large hard drive. It also needs an internet connection, and it needs to get the latest updates with that internet connection. So if you don't have a connection, it may start to grumble, and if it seems to have hung, just leave it. It's probably just scanning to see what software you've got. I do find that this application can become unresponsive from time to time, but if you leave it, it's usually just trying to do something in the background, scanning your files, etc. So here, if you look here, we have settings. If detailed view isn't selected, then just check that checkbox, and that will give you a better view of what apps need to be updated. And this is the options we had while we did the install. So here you can change it back to update automatically, which is recommended. Now what you can do, so what I've done here is I've deliberately made sure that there is some software that is out of date. So if I click on here, right click, I can decide perhaps I want to ignore updates for this program. Maybe it's it's some software that if I update it, I have to change some code that I've developed. So you can actually ignore it, and then choose all the ones that you actually want to ignore, and then change it to update automatically. You can show the details, which doesn't really show you much more than what you get from a detailed view, which is the installed version. Plus you get the location of where the file is. Very useful. If you go on more information, it's going to launch your browser, and it's going to give you information about the patch and the vulnerability, and you can see here, highly critical. So that would be one that you would probably want to install, because again, iTunes is a application that directly interfaces with the internet, so it's particularly sensitive to needing to be updated. You can look at history and see what has been already installed or updated. If you have a program that you want to be monitored but it isn't here, then you can request from Secunia to add that, and if you're lucky they may indeed add it. You can scan again and you'll see it'll start to download the latest definitions and it will scan your system again. And like I said, this can take a little bit of time if you've got a large system. And you can see here it gives you a rating of, here's 97% for how up to date it believes my system to be. And this says currently updating, so let's change these settings to download. And you can see here, this is doing exactly what I mentioned, in that it starts to pause, and you're not quite sure what it's doing here. It's got a little timer, but what it's doing is it's updating in the background, and you'll get this little timer. So the best thing is just to leave it, let it get on with what it's doing, and then eventually it will come back and you'll be able to use the interface again. Now there are alternative tools to this one to automate patching. There is something called App Updater, there's File Hippo App Manager, there's Ninite, there's Software Informer Client, there's Software Update Monitor or SUMO, but make sure you get the light version of that because the non-light version comes with other adware and bloatware. There is Heimdall free, not sure if I'm saying that correctly. That comes from a security company, so that has a security focus, so that's worth a look. You can also do automated driver updates, and there's a few pieces of software that do that, and Dumo is one example. If you have your machine switched off for any length of time, or you're disconnected from the internet for any length of time, before you start using your browser or going onto the internet, you need to check to see if you're up to date with your patches first. Get your system up to date first, then use your browser, then use your internet. And if we look here, it's actually conveniently auto updated it for us, and we're on the latest version here. And on history, we can see the update's been made, which is brilliant. Now we're 100%.